Summer 1990. The cicadas were shrieking in the sycamore trees outside, their noise like a boiling pot on a stove. I had just woken up from unconsciousness, my head still spinning. When my vision cleared, I found myself in a familiar room. The yellowed wallpaper, the old wooden bed, and the vanity covered with photos of movie stars. This was my bedroom when I was 18. I sat up and looked at my reflection in the mirror. Pale skin, big eyes, long black hair. The face staring back at me was 20 years younger than the one I had before I died. I was really reborn. Downstairs, I heard my mother talking to a man. I quietly walked to the staircase and peeked through the gaps in the railing. In the living room sat a tall man in a military uniform. His figure was upright and commanding, his eyebrows sharp, his eyes clear and bright. The nameplate on his chest read Ryan Cooper. He was talking with my parents, his uniform perfectly pressed, the golden insignia on his shoulders gleaming under the sunlight. That name, Ryan Cooper, echoed in my mind like thunder. In my previous life, after I married David Miller, I often saw reports about him in the newspapers. From platoon leader to company commander, from company commander to battalion commander, then regimental and division commander, he climbed the ranks quickly. By the time I died, he had already become a well-known general, and now he was sitting in my living room. "Comrade Cooper, our daughter Emma is still young," my mother said nervously. "She's just turned 18. Besides, she already has a boyfriend, David Miller, the county mayor's son." The moment I heard that name, David Miller, all the blood in my body turned cold. In my last life, that bastard had pretended to be gentle and caring, but behind my back, he was sleeping with my best friend Sophia Reed. 3 years after our wedding, the two of them worked together to push me down the stairs and made it look like an accident. When I died, Sophia was already pregnant with his child. "Mrs. Johnson, I'm serious," Ryan Cooper said in a deep, steady voice. "I'm 26, serving as a company commander in the Army. My circumstances may not be great right now, but I can promise I'll treat Emma well." My father took a drag from his pipe, his brows tightly knit. "Ryan, it's not that we look down on you, but you're just a soldier. What kind of future can you have? David's different. His father's the county mayor. That boy's bound to have a bright future." "That's right," my mother immediately chimed in. "Our Emma was the top scorer in the college entrance exams, and she's beautiful too. She's perfect for David Miller. You, a soldier, can't compare." Her words made anger rise inside me. In my previous life, my parents had been exactly like this. Snobbish and blind to everything but status and wealth. They had never cared about my feelings, only about appearances. In the end, they had pushed me straight into hell. Ryan fell silent for a moment before standing up. "If that's how you feel, I won't insist. But I'd still like to hear what Emma herself thinks. Her opinion. She's still a child. What does she know? We're her parents. We'll decide for her," my mother scoffed. "No," I shouted, running down the stairs. "I disagree." Everyone froze. Ryan turned to look at me, a hint of surprise flashing in his eyes. I met his gaze and said clearly, "I agree to marry Officer Cooper." My mother's face went pale. "Are you crazy? David Miller has such great prospects and you'd rather marry a soldier." "My marriage is my own decision," I said firmly. "I don't like David Miller. I like Ryan Cooper." The words came out before I even realized I'd said them. The living room fell completely silent. So quiet I could hear the sound of dust settling. Ryan Cooper's expression grew complicated as he looked at me. There was confusion in his eyes, but also curiosity, as if he were trying to figure me out. My father slammed the table and stood up. "Nonsense. You're just a young girl. What do you know about love? David Miller is a good man from a good family. If you marry him, you'll live comfortably. What can a soldier like him possibly give you? Dad, do you even know what kind of man David Miller really is?" I let out a cold laugh. "Do you know how long he's been with Sophia Reed?" The words slipped from my mouth before I even realized it, startling even myself. In my past life, I hadn't discovered David's affair until after we were married. But this was 1990. They must have already started seeing each other in secret. My mother froze for a moment. "What nonsense are you talking about? David and Sophia? Isn't Sophia your best friend?" "My best friend?" I almost laughed through my tears. Mom, you're too naive. Sophia's been in love with David since high school. Did you really think she came over to see me? Every time she visited, she somehow just happened to run into David. You think that was a coincidence? My parents exchanged uneasy glances. Clearly, they hadn't considered that possibility. Ryan stood quietly to the side, watching me with eyes that grew deeper by the second. I knew he was observing me, trying to see if I truly meant what I said. I turned to face him directly. Officer Cooper, if you don't mind, I'm willing to marry you. He met my gaze, studying my face as if he could read my thoughts through my eyes. After a brief pause, he gave a small nod. All right, I'll wait for you. My mother panicked. No, I don't agree. David Miller is coming tomorrow to propose. You can't be this reckless. Mom, I said firmly, if you force me to marry David Miller, I'd rather become a nun and never marry at all. My voice was unyielding. In my last life, I'd been too weak, obeying my parents in everything, and it had cost me my life. In this life, I would never make the same mistake again. My father's face turned ashen. You ungrateful girl. You turn your back on your parents for a soldier. Dad, I said, my voice steady. All I want is my own happiness. I looked at Ryan and he looked right back at me. Our eyes met, and for a moment, it felt as if I could see the future reflected in his gaze. Ryan finally spoke again, his tone calm and respectful. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, I understand that you're worried about Emma's future. I can't promise to give her the best life right now, but I can promise that I'll spend my whole life protecting her and making her happy. He paused for a moment before continuing. If you agree to our engagement, I'm willing to wait until she finishes college before we marry. That's 4 years. During that time, you can see for yourselves whether I keep my word. It was a reasonable proposal. My parents exchanged another look, their expressions softening slightly. My mother hesitated. But what about David Miller? He's coming to propose tomorrow. Mom, just refuse him, I said firmly. Tell him I already have someone. But there's no but, I interrupted her. If you truly care about me, please trust my choice. Ryan stood up. Then I'll take my leave. Here's my address. If you decide, you can reach me anytime. He placed a small note on the table. I quickly said, Officer Cooper, let me walk you out. We stepped into the courtyard. The setting sun cast everything in a soft golden glow. Ryan turned to face me. Emma, he said quietly, why did you choose me? We only met for the first time today. His question was sharp, direct, but I had already prepared for it. Officer Cooper, I said softly, meeting his eyes. Do you believe in love at first sight? He froze momentarily, stunned by my words. He shook his head slowly, clearly not believing me. Then, do you believe in intuition? I asked, looking straight into his eyes. Because my intuition tells me you're a man I can trust for the rest of my life. Ryan Cooper fell silent for a long time. Finally, he said quietly, I don't know if your intuition is right, but I can tell you this. If you really marry me, I'll spend the rest of my life proving that your choice was the right one. When he finished speaking, he turned and strode out of the yard. I stood in the doorway watching his tall figure fade into the distance, my heart swirling with mixed emotions. In my past life, I had missed out on such an extraordinary man. This time, I was determined to hold on to him tightly. Behind me, my mother's voice broke the silence. Emma, have you really made up your mind? I turned around and nodded firmly. Yes, Mom. I've never been so sure of anything. She sighed. All right then. You've grown up. You'll have to walk your own path. It's just a pity for that David boy. David Miller doesn't need your pity, I said with a cold smile. He'll be with Sophia soon enough. You'll see. The next morning, bright and early, Safia Reed came to see me. She wore a pink dress and had her hair tied up in a ponytail, looking sweet and innocent. If I hadn't lived through her betrayal in my past life, I would never have believed that the girl with this gentle smile was so calculating underneath. Emma, she said cheerfully, looping her arm through mine. I heard David's coming over today to propose. Are you nervous? I looked at her calmly. Who told you that? She laughed lightly. Do you even need to ask? Everyone in town knows David even bought new clothes yesterday. He said he wanted to surprise you. How did she know that David bought new clothes? That meant she had met him yesterday afternoon. I sneered inwardly but kept my expression composed. Really? Then he's in for a disappointment. What do you mean? Safia froze, looking confused. I'm not going to marry him, I said flatly. Her expression changed instantly. First shock, then barely contained excitement. Why not? You two grew up together. Isn't that what everyone calls childhood sweethearts? So what if we did? I said coldly. I don't like him. If you like him, just go after him yourself. You don't need to use me as a shield. Safia's face flushed crimson. Emma, what are you talking about? How could I possibly like David? He's your boyfriend. Really? I asked, my tone sharp. Then what were you doing talking to him in front of the department store yesterday afternoon? And helping him pick out clothes? That was a bluff. In my past life, I had overheard their conversation by accident and learned they often met in secret, though I hadn't known when or where. Sure enough, Sophia's face went pale. How do you know about that? So she admitted it. Sophia, we grew up together, I said coldly. Do you really think I don't know you? Every time you came over, you somehow just happened to run into David. When you talked to him, the way you looked at him could melt steel. Did you really think I was blind? Sophia's lips trembled. She wanted to explain, but no words came out. I'm not going to argue with you about this, I said, waving my hand dismissively. It doesn't matter anyway. I'm not marrying David Miller. Whoever ends up with him has nothing to do with me. Emma, please don't misunderstand, Sophia said hurriedly, her eyes tearing. You've changed. You're not the same as before. The me before? I gave a bitter laugh. The old me was stupid. So stupid I let you both play me like a fool. I used to think you were my best friend. People change, I said lightly. Sophia, from now on, let's keep our distance. Sophia stared at me blankly. Then after a long moment she said, Okay, I left. And not long after she left, David Miller indeed arrived. He wore his new clothes and carried a bouquet of roses, looking confident and spirited. My parents entertained him in the living room, while I listened to their conversation from upstairs. Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, I'm here to formally propose. David's voice was full of confidence. I've already discussed it with Emma. We want to marry after she graduates from college. When did you discuss it with her? My mother asked awkwardly. This matter. David seemed to sense something wrong. Is it a dowry issue? He asked. Don't worry, Aunt, he added. My father said he won't shortchange Emma. My father cleared his throat. David, it's not about money, Emma. She has other ideas. Other ideas? David's voice rose. What do you mean? I went downstairs into the living room and looked at David's hypocritical face. David Miller, I won't marry you. David froze for a few seconds, then laughed. Emma, you're joking, right? I'm not joking, I said, looking at him. I already have someone. David's face changed. Someone? He asked. Who? Ryan Cooper, a company commander in the military district. When he heard the name, David clearly stiffened. He must have heard of him before. Emma, don't be ridiculous. David tried to keep smiling. We grew up together. Don't you know how I feel about you? Your feelings. I sneered. Your feelings are for Sophia, aren't they? David's expression shifted immediately as he tried to deny it. What are you talking about? Then why were you with Sophia yesterday afternoon? I pressed. What did you say to her in front of the department store? Why did you accompany her to buy clothes? David opened his mouth to explain but looked guilty and couldn't give a convincing answer. My parents exchanged glances. They hadn't expected this to be true. Emma, you misunderstand. David began to protest. Do I misunderstand? You know in your heart, I said coldly, staring at him. David, if you like Sophia, go after her. Don't drag me into it. I have no feelings for you. David's face darkened and grew uglier. Emma, what's gotten into you? You weren't like this before. I told you people change, I replied and turned to walk upstairs. Please leave. Don't come back, Emma, David shouted after me from below. You can't treat me like this. We grew up together. I glanced back at him. Precisely because we grew up together. I know exactly what kind of person you are. Wake up, David. Not everyone revolves around you. With that, I went upstairs without looking back. From below, I heard my father trying to reason with David, then the sound of the door closing. I leaned against the window and watched David's figure walk away, feeling an indescribable relief. When they poisoned me to death in my last life, I had daydreamed countless times that if I could start over I would make them pay. Now the chance had come and I would not hesitate. That afternoon, my mother came upstairs to find me. "Emma, have you really decided?" she asked. "Yes," I nodded. My mother sighed. "All right then. If you're so determined, your father and I won't force you." "But that Ryan Cooper," my mother said hesitantly. "Do you really know him that well?" "Mom, do you really know David Miller?" I countered. "Do you even know what's been going on between him and Sophia?" My mother fell silent. "Mom, trust me. Ryan Cooper is 100 times better than David Miller," I said, taking her hand. "Please give me this chance." She looked into my determined eyes for a long moment before finally nodding. "All right, I'll trust you." That night, I wrote a letter to Ryan Cooper telling him that my parents had agreed to our engagement. Early the next morning, I had someone deliver it to him. 3 days later, Ryan returned to my house. This time, he brought engagement gifts and a few of his fellow soldiers. "Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, thank you for your trust," Ryan said sincerely. "I promise I won't let Emma down." My father glanced at the gifts he had brought. They weren't expensive, but each one was clearly chosen with care. "Ryan, you're very thoughtful," my father said. "It's the least I can do," Ryan replied. "I'd like to officially get engaged to Emma now, and marry her after she finishes college. I'll work hard over the next few years to build a better life for her." My mother nodded. Then it's settled. And just like that, Ryan Cooper and I were officially engaged. When the news spread, the entire county was in an uproar. Everyone was talking about how the top student in the college entrance exams had turned down the mayor's son, only to get engaged to a soldier. As soon as Sophia Reed heard the news, she came to find me. Her expression was complicated, a mix of jealousy and confusion. "Emma, are you really going to marry that officer?" she asked. "Why do you have a problem with that?" I replied coolly. "I just think it's a little surprising," she stammered, biting her lip. "Didn't you always like David? When did I ever say I liked him?" I sneered. "Sophia, stop projecting your thoughts onto me." Her cheeks flushed red. "I didn't. He didn't. You know the truth yourself." I interrupted. "By the way, how's David doing lately? Heartbroken, I assume." Sophia hesitated, then mumbled, "He's really upset." "Upset?" I laughed. "Then go comfort him. Isn't that what you've always wanted?" Sophia's face turned even redder. "Emma, how could you say that?" "What did I say?" I asked innocently. Sophia dropped the act. "Everyone in this town knows you like David Miller. Now that I'm out of the picture, you two can be together openly. Isn't that great?" Sophia was speechless, staring at me with a mix of shock and disbelief. "Emma, you've really changed." "Yes, I have," I said with a small nod. "I've gotten smarter." After Sophia left, my mood lifted considerably. In my last life, after she and David got together, she still pretended to care about me, smiling sweetly while showing off their affection right in front of me. But this time I'd made her drop the act. The days after the engagement passed quickly. Ryan visited me every month. Sometimes on weekends, sometimes during his leave, he was always punctual. If he said he'd arrive at 3 o'clock, he'd be there at exactly 3 o'clock. Every time he came, he brought gifts for me and my parents. They weren't expensive, but each one was thoughtful. For me, he usually brought books or school supplies. For my parents, things like vitamins or useful household items. I gradually began to understand this man. He didn't talk much, but he was steady and reliable. He never said sweet, empty words, but he always quietly took care of everything for me. For example, when he learned I was going to take the college entrance exam, he bought me review materials. Knowing I liked to read, he borrowed books from the military district library for me. When my father developed a stomach problem, he specifically bought medicine for him. "Ryan Cooper, why are you so good to me?" I couldn't help asking once. He looked at me seriously and said, "Because you're my fiancé." "Just because of that?" I pressed. "And because you're worth it," he answered simply. His words were plain, but my heart skipped a beat. By contrast, David Miller and Sophia Reed moved quickly. Less than a month after their engagement, they were openly together. I never expected them to actually get together, my mother said one day with relief. Good thing Emma didn't marry him. How awkward that would have been. I said lightly from the side. I told you long ago Sophia likes David. My father nodded. Emma has good judgment. She saw it early. In truth, it wasn't good judgment. I had memories from my previous life. But of course I couldn't tell them that. Soon it was time for the college entrance exams. I performed well, solid scores across the board. When the results came out, I unsurprisingly took first place in the whole county again, and was admitted to Tsinghua University. When Ryan Cooper found out, he took leave specially to come congratulate me. That day he smiled rare and proud. Emma, you're amazing, he said. So, don't I get some kind of reward? I joked. Ryan thought for a moment, took a small box from his bag and said, "This is for you." I opened it to find a delicate necklace with a tiny star pendant. Is it pretty? He asked. It's beautiful. I nodded, feeling warm inside. He reached out and put it on me with gentle, careful hands. I could feel his breath at my ear, and my heart raced faster and faster. Then Ryan suddenly said, "When you graduate from college, we'll get married, okay?" I looked at his earnest face and solemnly nodded. At that moment, I felt like the happiest person in the world. In my last life, I had missed such a good man, and in this life, I would cherish him. Before I left for Beijing to study, David Miller actually came to see me. He looked haggard and full of resentment. "Emma, you really don't regret this?" he asked. Regret what? I looked at him with no ripple in my heart. Marrying that soldier? David grounded his teeth. What can he give you? If you're with me, you'll be the county mayor's wife. County mayor's wife? I laughed. David, your father is the county mayor. What are you? Even if you become mayor someday, why should I marry a man who doesn't love me? Who says I don't love you? David snapped, desperate. I've liked you since we were kids. What about Sophia? I said coldly, looking at him. When you were with her, did you ever think of me? David's face flushed. Sophia and I. What do you mean? I pushed. We were just playing around. He stammered. Playing around? I interrupted. David, I have no use for a man like you. With that, I turned and walked away. David kept calling my name from behind, but I didn't look back. That kind of scum had already caused my death in my last life once. Once was enough. In this life, I would never give him another chance. On the last night before I left for Beijing, Ryan Cooper came to see me off. We walked together in the courtyard under the moonlight. The night was calm, and the silvery light shimmered over us like a dusting of glitter. Ryan, will you miss me? I suddenly asked. He stopped walking and looked at me. I will. Will you write to me? I will. What if I meet someone better in Beijing? I teased. Ryan's expression shifted slightly. Then he said quietly, "Then I'll wish you happiness." I was stunned. I didn't expect that answer. Seeing my surprise, Ryan smiled faintly. "But I don't think you will." "Why not?" I asked softly. "Because you chose me," he said seriously. "Emma, I believe in your choice. Just like you believe in me." At that moment, I was deeply moved. This man. He expressed his feelings in such a simple, genuine way. He believed in me. "Ryan," I said, gripping his hand tightly. "I believe in you too. Wait for me. 4 years from now, I'll come back and marry you." He nodded firmly. "I'll wait." The next morning, I boarded the train to Beijing. Watching the scenery rush past the window, I couldn't help but think of my past life. Back then, I had also left for college in Beijing, but with a completely different heart. In my previous life, I had gone with thoughts full of David Miller, missing him, missing home. But this time, my heart was full of hope for the future and love for Ryan Cooper. 4 years from now, I would become his bride. Life at Tsinghua University was even more exciting than I had imagined. I majored in computer science, a brand new field in 1990, but I knew it would become one of the most important industries in the future. My roommates were curious. "Emma, computer science is so hard." One of them, Linda, said, "Why would a girl like you choose that?" "Because I think it has a future," I replied with a smile. "What kind of future?" Another roommate, Sophie, said, shaking her head. "There are barely any computers in the whole country right now. What's the use of studying it?" I didn't argue. They couldn't possibly know that in just a few years, computers would enter every household and the internet would change the entire world. In my past life, I had missed that opportunity, staying home as a full-time housewife, completely dependent and without any financial independence. But this time would be different. I was going to master my field, start a software company, and become a capable, successful woman, one worthy of being the general's wife. Ryan kept his word. He wrote to me every month. His handwriting was neat and precise. His letters weren't long, but every word carried thought and care. He told me about his work, asked about my studies, and reminded me to take care of my health. There were no flowery phrases, but every line was filled with sincerity and affection. I always wrote back, sharing my college life, the things I'd learned, and sometimes even discussing academic topics with him. Gradually, I realized he was even more exceptional than I had imagined. Insightful, sharp-minded, and with a unique way of seeing the world. "Emma, your boyfriend is so thoughtful," Linda said one day, her voice full of admiration as she looked at the package Ryan had sent me. "He sends you something every month, and it's always exactly what you need." It was true. Ryan always seemed to know exactly what I would need next. When winter was coming, Ryan would send me warm clothes. During exam season, he mailed me vitamins and supplements to keep up my strength. On regular days, he'd send me local specialties from home. He was a soldier, meticulous and thoughtful in everything he did. "A soldier?" Sophie widened her eyes. "Your boyfriend's in the army." "He's a company commander," I said with a nod. My roommates all looked at me with envy. In those days, being a soldier was one of the most respected professions, and Ryan Cooper, young, capable, and so attentive to me, was indeed an ideal man to marry. Still, not everyone was optimistic about us. "Emma," one of the senior girls asked me once, "aren't you worried that a long-distance relationship will fade over time?" "Not at all," I replied without hesitation. "Why are you so confident?" She pressed. "Because I know him," I said simply. "And he knows me. Real love doesn't fade because of distance." The senior shook her head and smiled faintly. "You're still young. You don't understand men. Long-distance relationships rarely last." I just smiled and didn't argue. She didn't understand. What Ryan and I had wasn't an ordinary romance. We were meant to spend our lives together. My freshman year passed quickly. When summer came, I returned home for break. Ryan was already waiting for me. The moment I saw him again, I realized he looked even more mature than before, composed and radiating quiet strength. His military uniform made him look impossibly handsome. "Emma, did you miss me?" he asked with a small smile. I did. I nodded, my cheeks warming. He chuckled softly, reaching out to pat my head. "Did you lose weight?" "I didn't lose any," I protested. "In my eyes you did," he teased. Then he smiled. "Mom made your favorite braised pork. Come on, let's go home." Home. I froze for a second, then realized he meant his home. Technically, since we were already engaged, it was appropriate for me to visit his parents. But still, I couldn't help feeling a little nervous. Ryan's family home was simpler than mine. His father was a retired soldier who now worked at the county's Armed Forces Department. His mother was a gentle woman who treated me as if I were already her daughter. "Emma's here. Come sit down," Mrs. Cooper said warmly, holding my hand. "Was school in Beijing tiring? Are you eating well?" "I'm fine, Mom," I said shyly, addressing her that way for the first time. Her eyes crinkled into a smile. "Good girl." During dinner, Mr. Cooper asked me many questions about college. He seemed especially interested when he learned I was studying computer science. "Emma, how's that major?" "I've heard it's pretty hard," he said. "It's a little challenging," I admitted, "but really fascinating. I think it has a great future." "Oh, how so?" he asked curiously. I thought for a moment, then decided to give him a small glimpse of what I knew. "Think about it. The machines in factories are getting more and more advanced, and they'll all need computers to control them. Maybe one day every household will have a computer of its own." Mr. Cooper nodded thoughtfully. "That makes sense. You study hard, then it might come in handy someday." Ryan sat beside me, watching with eyes full of quiet pride. I knew he was proud of my ambition and my vision for the future. After dinner, he walked me home. On the way home, we talked about many things, mostly me sharing stories from college while he told me about life in the military. Ryan asked suddenly, what do you think our future will be like? He thought for a moment, then said, I hope we'll always support each other and understand one another. You'll have your career and I'll have my duty. But no matter what, we'll always be the most important people in each other's lives. His answer made me smile with deep satisfaction. He didn't expect me to be a housewife, nor did he demand that my world revolve around him. Instead, he respected my choices and supported my dreams. Ryan, you're such a good man, I said sincerely. He stopped walking, turned to me and looked into my eyes. Emma, he said softly, I want to kiss you. The words were so direct that my face flushed instantly, but I didn't refuse. I just nodded slightly. That was our first kiss under the moonlight beneath the sycamore tree. It was light and gentle, yet it made my heart pound like a startled deer. From that night on, I became even more certain that Ryan Cooper was the man I wanted to spend my life with. During my sophomore year, I received an unexpected piece of news. David Miller and Sophia Reed had broken up. My mother mentioned it in one of her letters, saying that the two of them had been arguing constantly, apparently because Sophia wanted to go south to find work and David was against it. In the end, they had a huge fight and Sophia went to Shenzhen alone. When I read that letter, my feelings were complicated. In my past life, they had been so in love. What could have changed this time? Then it occurred to me that maybe my rebirth had triggered a butterfly effect. In my previous life, I married David Miller and Sophia, being the other woman, had valued their secret affair more deeply. But this time, since I'd rejected David, Sophia had gotten him easily. And perhaps that made her take him for granted. Whatever the reason, it was no longer my concern. Not long after, something even more unexpected happened. David Miller wrote me a letter. In it, he said he had never stopped thinking about me, that being with Sophia was just a moment of weakness, that he finally realized I was the one he truly loved, and he begged me to give him another chance. Reading his letter, I felt nothing but disgust. How shameless could a man be? I didn't reply. I tore the letter to pieces. But David didn't give up. He sent several more letters, each one more desperate than the last. He even wrote that he was willing to come to Beijing to find me. I'd had enough. So I wrote back one final letter. David, please stop bothering me. I'm already engaged. There's no possibility between us. If you send me another letter, I'll tell my fiancé about everything. That worked. David Miller never wrote again. He probably knew that Ryan Cooper was not someone to mess with. Time flew by and soon it was 1993. That year many things happened. First of all, Ryan was promoted from company commander to battalion commander. He wrote to share the good news. Though his tone in the letter was calm, I could feel the excitement beneath his words. Ryan, congratulations. I immediately wrote back. I knew you would succeed, he replied. Thank you for always believing in me. Emma, once you graduate, let's get married. By then, I should be able to give you a better life. When I read that line, my heart melted completely. This man was always quietly working for our future. Besides Ryan's promotion, there was more good news. I had been doing exceptionally well at school. For 2 consecutive years, I earned scholarships and even joined several research projects. My advisor said I had great potential and suggested I continue my studies after graduation. Emma, you should consider graduate school, my advisor told me. You have a solid foundation. If you pursue further studies, your future will be even brighter. I thought about it carefully and decided to discuss it with Ryan. In my next letter to him, I wrote, Ryan, my advisor suggested that I go to graduate school. What do you think? If I do, our wedding might have to be postponed for a few years. His reply came quickly. Emma, you should absolutely go to grad school. You're too smart to waste your talent. As for the wedding, it can be any time. I'll wait for you. When I read that, tears filled my eyes. This man always supported me completely, without condition or hesitation. So, I decided to take the graduate school entrance exams. I studied harder than ever before. Every day, if I wasn't in class, I was in the library. I didn't even rest on weekends. My roommates admired my determination. Emma, why are you pushing yourself so hard? Linda asked one night. Because I have a goal, I said. I want to get into the best graduate program and become the best engineer I can for your boyfriend, Sophie teased. I shook my head. Not just for him, for myself. I want to be someone of value, someone worthy of him. And I meant every word. Ryan Cooper was so outstanding. I had to work hard to become someone who truly matched him. Just when I was fully immersed in my studies, bad news came from home. My father had fallen ill. My mother called me crying. "Emma, your father's been diagnosed with stomach cancer. The doctor says he needs immediate surgery." My heart nearly stopped. Dad's stomach cancer. In my past life, he had always been healthy. I took leave right away and rushed home. When I arrived at the hospital, I saw him lying on the bed, thinner than I'd ever seen him. Tears streamed down my face. "Dad," I whispered, taking his hand. He forced a faint smile. "Emma, why are you here? Don't you have to prepare for your exams?" "Exams can wait," I said firmly. "Your health is what matters most." At that moment, the door opened and Ryan walked in. The second I saw him, I broke down completely. He didn't say a word, just came over and wrapped his arms around me. "It's okay. Everything will be fine," he whispered softly. It turned out my mother had called him and he'd taken leave and traveled all night to get there. With Ryan around, I finally felt grounded again. He arranged for the best doctor, found the best hospital room, and even hired a nurse to look after my father. The surgery was a success. The doctor said it had been caught early, and the chances of recovery were very high. Watching my father gradually get better, my heart filled with gratitude. If it hadn't been for Ryan's help, my family wouldn't have known what to do. "Ryan, thank you," I said, holding his hand. He shook his head gently. "There's no need to thank me. We're family." Family. Those words warmed my heart completely. Yes, we were already a family. After my father recovered, I returned to school and continued preparing for the entrance exams. That experience changed me deeply. I cherished my relationship with Ryan Cooper even more after that. This man had been by my side when I needed him most, taking on every burden without hesitation. I knew then in this life I was his completely and forever. My exam results turned out great. I was accepted into the graduate program at the Chinese Academy of Sciences, still majoring in computer science. When Ryan heard the news, he took leave and came to Beijing just to congratulate me. That evening, we had dinner at a small restaurant near campus. "Emma, I'm so proud of you," he said warmly. "So, do you have anything to show for it?" I teased. Ryan smiled mysteriously and pulled a small box from his bag. I opened it. Inside was a ring. It was a simple design but elegant and beautiful. "Emma," he said, "this is an engagement ring. We've been engaged for a long time already, but I always wanted to give you one." He took the ring from the box. "Will you wear it?" I nodded and held out my left hand. He gently slipped the ring onto my finger. Fit perfectly. "Ryan, how did you know my size?" I asked curiously. He smiled. "I've observed your hands before." Then I had the jeweler estimate it. That careful, thoughtful man. I was so moved I almost cried. Once the ring was on, I truly felt like Ryan Cooper's fiancé. Though our wedding was still years away, that ring was a promise, one that made my heart feel at peace. Graduate school was far busier than undergrad. My advisor was a strict professor with very high standards, but because of that, I learned so much. In 1994, the internet began to rise in China. I immediately sensed it was a tremendous opportunity. So, I started teaching myself about network technology and studying the development trends of the internet. "Emma, why are you suddenly so interested in the internet?" one of my senior dorm mates asked. "I think it has a huge future," I said. "Maybe one day people will shop, chat, and read the news online." She laughed. "You've got quite the imagination. Right now, there are barely any places in the whole country that can even connect to the internet. You're thinking way too far ahead." I didn't argue. She couldn't know that in just a few years, the internet would transform every aspect of life, and I intended to be part of that revolution. Ryan continued to support my studies wholeheartedly. He didn't understand much about computers, but he always encouraged me to follow my own ideas. "Emma, you're smarter than I am. I know your choices are the right ones," he wrote in one of his letters. That same year, Ryan was promoted again from battalion commander to deputy regimental commander. He was only 30, an age when few in the military reached such a rank. I later heard he had been promoted for his outstanding performance in a military exercise. "Ryan, that's amazing," I wrote to him. He replied, "It's what I should do." I have to work hard to keep up with you. You're so accomplished in your field. I can't fall behind. Reading that line filled me with warmth. The two of us were like stars, each shining in our own orbit yet illuminating each other. In my second year of graduate school, I began preparing my master's thesis. My chosen topic was network security, a cutting-edge field at the time. My advisor looked a little worried. Emma, this topic is too new. There aren't many references available. Are you sure you want to pursue it? Yes, Professor, I said with certainty. I stood firm in my decision. I believed that cybersecurity would one day become an incredibly important field, and time proved me right. My thesis received high praise and was even presented at several major academic conferences. More importantly, through researching network security, I gained a deeper understanding of the entire internet industry. That was when I started planning to start my own business after graduation. Emma, what are your plans after you graduate? My advisor asked. Have you thought about pursuing a PhD? I shook my head. Professor, I want to work. I have some ideas I want to test and practice. He looked a little disappointed but still smiled. That's fine. You're a student with strong ideas. You should get out into the real world and make them happen. Just as I was busy finishing my thesis, something happened back home again. This time it was David Miller causing trouble. My mom called me frustrated. Emma, that David Miller has been coming by our house a lot lately. He says he wants to see you. Your dad told him to leave, but he just won't go. He's driving us crazy. I was furious. Why won't that man just disappear already? Mom, tell him if he keeps bothering you, I'll call the police. He said he's the deputy county mayor now. My mom sighed. And he keeps talking about how he's going to win you back. What should we do, Emma? Deputy county mayor? I sneered. In my past life, David had only reached that position years after my death, thanks to his father's connections. And now in this life he'd gotten there early. But no matter what title he held, I wasn't afraid of him. Mom, don't worry about him, I said firmly. When I come home after graduation, I'll handle it myself. After hanging up, I immediately wrote to Ryan and told him everything. His reply came quickly and it was just one short sentence. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. And sure enough, not long after that, David Miller stopped coming to my parents' house. I didn't know exactly what Ryan had done, but whatever it was, it worked perfectly. Ryan, thank you. I wrote in my next letter. He replied, Emma, you're my fiancé. Protecting you is my duty. If you ever face any trouble, tell me right away. Reading that, I felt an overwhelming sense of safety. With a man like Ryan Cooper behind me, what could I possibly fear? In the spring of 1996, I graduated successfully from the Chinese Academy of Sciences. On my graduation day, Ryan took leave again to attend the ceremony. Seeing him sitting in the audience in his military uniform filled me with pride. That exceptional man was my fiancé. After the ceremony ended, Ryan came up to the stage to congratulate me. He pulled me into a warm embrace and whispered in my ear, Emma, can you marry me now? My heart raced. Yes, we had waited so many years for this moment. Yes, I nodded. Ryan's eyes lit up. Then let's get married this year. All right, I said with a smile, but I'd like to work for a while first just to get a few things in place. What kind of things? He asked curiously. I took his hand and led him to a quiet corner. Ryan, I said softly, I want to start my own business. Start a business? He looked surprised. What kind of business? I explained my idea in detail. I want to open a software company, one that specializes in network security products. The internet isn't widespread yet, but I believe this market will explode soon. Ryan listened intently. He thought about it seriously for a while before speaking. Emma, your idea is great, he said. But starting a business takes capital. How much money do you have? I've saved up a bit, I replied. About 50,000 yuan. I've been putting aside all my scholarship money over the years. 50,000 might not be enough, he said, frowning slightly. How about this? I'll invest too. I've saved up 100,000 over the years. I'll give it all to you. I was stunned. 100,000 yuan in 1996 was no small amount, and he was willing to give me everything he had. Ryan, that's all your savings, I said, shocked. You're my fiancé, he said naturally. Your career is our career, and I trust your judgment." In that moment I was so moved I almost cried. This man had always supported me without condition, without hesitation. With the startup capital ready, I began preparing for my new venture, registering the company, renting an office and hiring employees. I named it Andon Technologies, specializing in developing cybersecurity software. The market was still small, but I wanted to establish a foundation early so when the internet boom arrived we'd already be ahead of the curve. While I was busy building the company, Ryan also brought good news. He was transferred to the Beijing military district and promoted to regimental commander. "Emma, now we can finally be together in Beijing," he said excitedly over the phone. "Really?" I asked, thrilled. "When will you arrive?" "Next month," he said. "Then we'll be able to see each other every day." I was so happy. I actually jumped for joy. After all those years apart, we were finally going to live in the same city. Once Ryan arrived in Beijing, we spent much more time together. Every weekend he came to see me, and sometimes he'd stop by the company as well. "Emma, your company's growing fast," he said one day, looking over the small office filled with my newly hired employees, all top graduates from Tsinghua and Peking University. He looked proud and satisfied. "This is only the beginning," I told him. "Once the internet becomes widespread, our products will really take off." Ryan nodded, smiling. "I believe in you." But around that time, David Miller reappeared once again, bringing trouble. Somehow, he found out I was starting a business in Beijing and shamelessly came to my company. That day, I was in my office writing code when the receptionist came in. "Miss Johnson," she said, "there's someone here to see you." "Who?" I asked without looking up. "A man named David Miller. He said he's an old classmate of yours." The moment I heard that name, my face darkened. That ghost just wouldn't leave me alone. "Tell him I'm not here," I said flatly. But David Miller wasn't the type to give up easily. He waited outside the building all day. When I left work that evening, he was standing by the entrance, blocking my path. "Emma, can we talk?" he said. He looked older, more polished, dressed in a suit like some successful official. "There's nothing to talk about," I said coldly. "Emma, I know you're still angry with me," David said with a strange smile. "What happened back then was my fault. I'm here to apologize." "Apologize?" I sneered. "Do you really think one apology is enough? What do you want then?" he asked quickly. "Emma, I'm a deputy county mayor now. Someday I'll become a county mayor, maybe even a city mayor. If you're with me, your life will be 100 times better than it is now. Do you think I care about money or status?" I looked at him, my eyes full of disdain. "David Miller, you're still as shallow as ever." He clenched his teeth. "What can that soldier of yours give you? What kind of future can he possibly have?" "He can give me his heart," I said firmly. "And that's more than enough." I turned to leave, but David Miller grabbed my arm. "Emma, please don't go," he said desperately. "I mean it. I've been thinking about you all these years. I've regretted letting you go every single day." I yanked my arm free, but he tried to grab me again. That was when a familiar voice came from behind me. "She told you to let go. Didn't you hear her?" I turned around. Ryan was standing there. I had no idea when he'd arrived. He was dressed in casual clothes, but even without his uniform, his presence carried that same commanding authority that made people instinctively step back. David froze. His face paled instantly. Although the two had never met before, he seemed to recognize exactly who Ryan was. "You must be Ryan Cooper," David said stiffly, trying to sound calm. "I am," Ryan replied, stepping closer to me. He placed his arm around my shoulders naturally. "And you must be the one who's been harassing my fiancé." David's face turned red. "Commander Cooper, Emma and I grew up together. Whatever's between us is none of your business." "Grew up together?" Ryan let out a cold laugh. "Then you should know better than anyone what respect means. Emma has already made herself clear. She's rejected you. Yet here you are still pestering her. Tell me, is that how a gentleman behaves?" David's mouth opened, but no words came out. Ryan's tone hardened. "This is my last warning, David Miller. If you ever bother my fiancé again, I won't be so polite next time." As he spoke, that powerful aura of command radiated from him, Sharp, unyielding, impossible to ignore. The pressure was enough to make David step back several paces, fear flickering in his eyes. "Let's go," Ryan said, taking my hand. He led me away, and we didn't stop walking until we were several blocks from the building. "Ryan," I finally asked, "what are you doing here?" "I was worried about you," he said. "I've had a bad feeling these past few days, so I came to check on you. I didn't expect to actually find you in trouble." I leaned against his shoulder, my heart full of emotion. "Thank you, Emma," he said suddenly. "Let's get married." "What?" I looked up at him in surprise. "I want to make it official," he said seriously. "I want everyone to know that you're my wife, so no one will ever dare bother you again." His eyes were filled with sincerity, and warmth spread through my chest. "All right," I said softly. "Let's get married." And just like that, we decided to hold the wedding as soon as possible. In October 1996, Ryan and I were married in Beijing. Although neither of us was from the city, he had many comrades from the military district, and I had plenty of friends from school and work. The wedding was lively and full of laughter. I wore a white wedding gown, and Ryan stood at the altar in his military uniform. As I walked down the aisle holding my father's arm, I saw the tenderness and love in Ryan's eyes. And in that moment I knew I had made the best decision of my life. "Will you marry me?" he asked, reaching out his hand. "I will," I said, placing my hand in his. That was the moment we truly became husband and wife. The funniest part of the ceremony came when Ryan's comrades started chanting, "Kiss her! Kiss her!" Ryan blushed furiously, clearly embarrassed. "Kiss her! Kiss her!" they shouted louder. So I stood on my tiptoes and kissed him first. The crowd erupted in cheers. "Way to go, Mrs. Cooper," someone yelled. Ryan's face turned an even deeper shade of red, but his eyes were glowing with happiness. After the wedding, we bought a small apartment in Beijing. It wasn't big, but it was cozy and full of warmth. Ryan, always thoughtful, gave up his study so I could use it as a home office for my company work. "Ryan, don't you need your study?" I asked, feeling a little guilty. "My books don't take up much space," Ryan said with a smile. "The shelves in the living room are enough. Your work is more important." This thoughtful man made me love him more and more with each passing day. After our marriage, my company began to thrive. By 1997, the internet was rapidly expanding across China, and our products finally found their place in the market. "Boss, our orders this month are triple what they were last month," my sales manager told me excitedly. I looked over the report, feeling a surge of joy and pride. My prediction had been right. The cybersecurity market was growing fast. When Ryan heard the news, he was just as thrilled. "Emma, you're incredible," he said proudly. "Your vision was spot on." "This is just the beginning," I said confidently. "In a few years, once the internet becomes fully mainstream, our company will be even bigger." And I was right. By 1998, Andon Technologies had become one of the leading cybersecurity companies in the country. Our small startup team had grown from just a handful of people to over 100 employees. That same year, an unexpected visitor showed up at my office. "Boss," my secretary said, knocking lightly on the door. "There's a woman here to see you. She says she's an old classmate." A strange unease crept into my chest. "What's her name?" I asked. "Her name is Sophia Reed." Of course. I hesitated for a moment, then decided to meet her. After all, she hadn't appeared in my life for many years. I wanted to see what she could possibly want now. When Sophia walked into my office, I barely recognized her. She looked thin and exhausted, her complexion pale and waxy, her once bright eyes now dull and lifeless. "Emma," she said weakly. "Sit down." I gestured to the chair across from me. "What do you want?" Sophia sat down, keeping her head low. "Emma," she said quietly, "I came to apologize." "Apologize?" I gave a cold laugh. "Don't you think it's a little too late for that?" "I know it's late," she said, lifting her gaze to meet mine. Her eyes were full of regret, but I had to say it. What I did back then was wrong. I shouldn't have betrayed our friendship. I shouldn't have gotten involved with David. I looked at her in silence, saying nothing. Sophia continued, her voice trembling. "These past few years in Shenzhen have been awful. I thought I could make something of myself, but everything went wrong. I hit wall after wall. Then I got sick, spent all my savings, and finally realized how stupid I'd been. And then? I asked quietly. Then I thought of you, she said, and tears started falling down her face. We grew up together. You were my best friend, but I betrayed you for a man. Emma, can you ever forgive me? Watching her cry, I felt a swirl of emotions I couldn't name. In my previous life, my hatred for her had been boundless. She hadn't just stolen my husband. She'd also helped him destroy me. But this life was different. I hadn't married David Miller. She hadn't taken my man, nor ruined my life. She was just an old classmate, one who had made terrible mistakes. Sophia, you're sick, I said softly. She nodded. Stomach cancer, late stage. The doctors say I have maybe 6 months left. I froze. She was still so young and dying. Emma, I didn't come here to ask for help, she said quickly, as if reading my thoughts. I just wanted to apologize before I die. I've been living with guilt for years. If I don't say this to you, I'll never be able to die in peace. As I looked at her frail figure, the anger and resentment inside me slowly faded away. She was already at the end of her life. What was there left to hate anymore? Sophia, I forgive you, I said softly. She froze for a second, then burst into even harder tears. Thank you, Emma. Thank you for forgiving me. Do you have any other wishes? I asked. Sophia shook her head. No, just hearing that you forgave me, that's enough. After she left, I sat there for a long time, my emotions tangled and heavy. I never would have imagined that the lively, beautiful girl I once knew would end up like this. That evening, I told Ryan everything when I got home. She really has stomach cancer, I said. Ryan frowned. It doesn't sound like she's lying. Ryan, I said quietly, I want to help her. He looked at me. Are you sure she's dying? She is, I said, nodding. But with so little time left, what's the point of holding grudges? I can tell she truly regrets everything. Ryan studied my face for a moment, then nodded. If that's what you want, I'll support you. So, I reached out to some of the best doctors I knew and arranged treatment for Sophia. Even though it was late-stage cancer and there wasn't much hope, I wanted to at least ease her pain. Maybe give her a little more time. When Sophia found out, she was overwhelmed. Emma, you're an angel, she said, gripping my hand weakly. I've made so many mistakes in my life, but having you as a friend, that's my greatest blessing. Unfortunately, the doctors were right. Her condition was too severe. 2 months later, Sophia passed away. Before she died, she held my hand tightly and said, Emma, you have to be happy. You deserve the best life. As her eyes slowly closed, a wave of grief washed over me. No matter what had happened between us, she was still the girl I'd grown up with. My childhood friend. Her funeral was simple. There weren't many people there. What surprised me, though, was that David Miller showed up. He looked much thinner and worn out. When he saw me, his expression was complicated. Emma, he said quietly, thank you for taking care of Sophia. That's what I should have done, I replied calmly. He hesitated before asking, Are you doing well? I am, I said, meeting his gaze. David, let the past stay in the past. I hope you can find your own happiness too. He blinked in surprise, then gave a bitter smile. Emma, you're still as kind as ever. I never deserved you. With that, he turned and walked away. After that day, David Miller disappeared from my life completely. I think he truly let go this time. Time passed quickly, and soon it was 1999, a year that would change my life forever. That year, I found out I was pregnant. When the doctor told me the news, I almost jumped with joy. Ryan and I had been married for 3 years, and we'd been hoping for a child. Really? I asked, almost breathless with excitement. Yes, the doctor said, smiling. You're about 2 months along. Congratulations. You're going to be a mother. The moment I left the hospital, I called Ryan immediately. Ryan, I'm pregnant, I said, barely able to contain my excitement. There was silence on the other end for a few seconds, and then his voice came, trembling with emotion. Really? I'm going to be a father. Yes, I laughed. You're going to be a dad. That's amazing, Emma. Stay home and rest. I'll be right there. And true to his word, Ryan was home in less than an hour. He swept me into his arms and spun me around in pure joy like an excited kid. Careful, I laughed, placing a hand over my stomach. I'm carrying your baby. He immediately stopped and set me down gently, then reached out and rested his palm on my belly, his touch tender and reverent. Our baby's daddy is Ryan Cooper and mommy is Emma Johnson, Ryan said softly as he rested his hand on my belly. We both love you so much. Watching how serious and tender he looked, tears welled up in my eyes. This man, I knew he would be a wonderful father. During my pregnancy, Ryan became even more attentive. He started studying nutrition on his own, planning out balanced meals for me every day. He even bought stacks of parenting books and read them carefully. Honestly, he was more prepared for fatherhood than I was. He also took on a lot of the work for my company. Although he wasn't a technical expert, his leadership and management skills were exceptional. With his help, the company began running more smoothly than ever. Emma, just focus on taking care of yourself and the baby, he told me. Leave the company to me. Don't you get tired? You're already busy with your own work and now you're helping with mine, I said a little worried. He smiled, brushing my hair gently. It's fine for you and our baby. I can handle being tired. That year, something even bigger happened. Ryan was promoted again. This time from regimental commander to deputy major general. A 35-year-old deputy major general. That was an incredible achievement in the military. Ryan, that's amazing, I told him proudly. He smiled modestly. I just want to give you and the baby a better life. I'll keep working hard for our family's happiness. In the spring of 2000, our son was born. He looked just like Ryan. Big bright eyes, a high-nose bridge, and an unmistakable air of charm even as a baby. What should we name him? Ryan asked, holding our son in his arms, his face glowing with fatherly love. Let's call him Ethan, I said softly. I want him to grow up with a broad heart and great ambitions. Ethan, Ryan repeated thoughtfully, then nodded. It's a good name. Ethan Cooper, mommy and daddy's precious boy. Baby Ethan seemed to understand. He looked up at us and smiled. At that moment, I felt like I had everything in the world. After Ethan's birth, I spent more time at home with our family, but I didn't completely step away from work. I trained several capable managers to handle the daily operations of the company, while I focused on long-term strategy. The arrangement worked perfectly. In the very first year of the new millennium, Andon Technologies made a major breakthrough and became the national leader in cybersecurity. Boss, we did it. Our annual revenue just broke 100 million. My finance director announced excitedly. 100 million in the year 2000. It was an incredible milestone. My company had officially become a large-scale enterprise. When Ryan heard the news, he suggested we celebrate. Emma, you've worked so hard for so many years. You deserve a break. Let's take a family trip, the three of us together. So we went to Hainan for a vacation. We watched the sunrise and sunset by the sea, played with Ethan as he crawled on the sand, and laughed until our cheeks hurt. I felt a deep, overwhelming sense of happiness, the kind that made my chest warm. Ryan, this is exactly the life I've always wanted, I said, leaning against his shoulder. He wrapped his arm around me. Me too, Emma. Thank you for giving me such a beautiful life. I shook my head and smiled. No, it's me who should thank you. Without you, I wouldn't have achieved any of this. He chuckled. We're husband and wife. There's no need to keep score. Your success is my success and mine is yours. He was right. We were like two gears, perfectly synchronized, turning together, driving each other forward. By 2005, I was 33, Ryan was 41, and we had been married for 9 years. Ethan was already 5. That year, Ryan was promoted once again, this time to division commander, 41 years old and already a general officer. His future seemed limitless. In the military world, Ryan's promotion made him one of the youngest officers at his level. At the pace he was advancing, he could very well become a general before turning 50. Emma, we have to move, Ryan told me. One evening, the headquarters has been relocated. We're leaving Beijing. A pang of reluctance filled my chest. Beijing had been our home for so many years. The place where we'd built our lives from the ground up. Where every corner carried a memory. What about the company? I asked. You can still manage it remotely, he said reassuringly. With how advanced communication is now, You don't need to be there every day. He was right. Besides, I had already built a strong management team. The company's operations no longer depended on me handling everything personally. All right, I said, nodding. Let's move. When Ethan heard the news, he was thrilled. Mom, will our new house have a big yard? I want to raise a puppy. Ryan laughed, ruffling his hair. Yes, it'll have a big yard. You can have a puppy and we can plant flowers too. Our new home turned out to be beautiful. A spacious residence provided for division commanders, complete with a garden and a large courtyard. Ethan fell in love with it right away. Every day he'd run around the yard chasing butterflies or pretending to be a superhero. Even though we had left Beijing, our quality of life didn't decline. If anything, it improved. The air was cleaner, the environment quieter, and life felt more peaceful. Meanwhile, my company continued to flourish. Once again, my predictions proved right. After 2005, China's internet industry entered a period of explosive growth, and the demand for cybersecurity skyrocketed. Boss, we've officially become #1 in the industry, my general manager said excitedly over the phone. This year's revenue is expected to exceed 1 billion yuan. 1 billion. From an initial investment of 50,000 yuan to 10-digit revenue, it had taken me nearly 10 years to reach that point. I was deeply satisfied, not only with the company's success but with the balance I'd found in life. Even more gratifying was Ryan's career, which was soaring just as quickly as mine. In 2007, at the age of 43, he was promoted to Major General, one of the youngest in the country. Ryan, you're incredible, I told him with genuine pride. He smiled, his tone warm and humble. It's all thanks to you. Without your support, I never would have made it this far. I chuckled. We've always supported each other, haven't we? It was true. When I started my company, he had given me financial help and endless encouragement. When his promotions came, I offered him advice and emotional strength. We were like two members of the same team, working hard for a shared dream. Ethan was 7 by then, a bright and cheerful first grader. He was curious, kind, and always full of energy. Mom, he said seriously one night, when I grow up, I want to be a general like Dad. Oh, I asked with a smile. And why is that? Because Dad's cool and brave, he said earnestly. I want to protect you and other people too. Ryan and I exchanged a glance and burst into laughter. Our little boy already had such a strong sense of justice. Son, Ryan told him gently, you can be anything you want as long as you become someone who helps others. Ethan nodded hard, his eyes shining. As I watched the two of them together, my husband and my son, warmth filled my heart. I thought back to the tragic past life I had once endured. If I hadn't been given the chance to start over, I would never have known this happiness. I silently thanked the heavens for giving me another chance, for letting me meet Ryan, the man who had changed everything, and for blessing me with such a beautiful life. By 2010, I was 40 years old. That year, I made an important decision to distribute part of my company's shares to my employees, keeping only a controlling stake for myself. Emma, why are you doing this? My general manager asked, clearly puzzled. Because the company wouldn't be where it is today without everyone's effort, I said calmly. I don't want to take all the credit or all the profit for myself. Besides, doing this will only make the company stronger. My decision was met with overwhelming support from the employees. Morale skyrocketed and productivity followed. The company grew faster than ever before. That same year, Ryan was promoted once again, this time to Deputy Commander of the military region. At 46, he had already reached the rank of full general officer. At this rate, it was very likely that before turning 50, he would officially become a general. One evening, as we were walking together in the garden under the stars, Ryan suddenly asked, Emma, do you think we made the right choices? What choices? I asked, turning to look at him. The choices we made back then, you choosing to marry me and me choosing to marry you, he said quietly. We gave up other possibilities, other paths. I stopped walking and looked at him seriously. Ryan, do you regret it? He shook his head. No, never. These years with you have been the happiest time of my life. I smiled and squeezed his hand. I don't regret it either. Meeting you was the best decision I ever made. Ryan smiled, leaned down, and pressed a gentle kiss on my forehead. I love you, Emma. I love you too. Under the moonlight, we reaffirmed what we had always known, that our love hadn't faded with time, but deepened and strengthened instead. 20 years had passed since we first met. Our bond was no longer just love. It was partnership, trust, and destiny intertwined. In 2015, at 51 years old, Ryan was finally promoted to general. That day, Ethan and I attended his promotion ceremony. When I saw him standing tall in his crisp uniform, medals gleaming under the lights, pride filled my heart to the brim. "Mom, Dad looks so cool," Ethan whispered excitedly. "He does," I said with a smile. "Your dad's the most handsome man in the world." After the ceremony, Ryan walked over to us, his expression softening the moment his eyes met mine. "Emma," he said quietly, emotion thick in his voice, "thank you for walking with me through all these years." I grinned. "General Cooper, it's been my honor." He laughed and pulled both Ethan and me into his arms. "My two treasures," he murmured. "I love you both."